family members kidnapped in Central California this week have been found dead. Authorities say a farm worker found the bodies in an orchard in Merced County. A mother, father, their 8-month-old baby, and the baby's uncle were kidnapped on Monday. Surveillance video this week showed the family being taken from their business and forced into a truck by an armed man. A person of interest, this is a look at the family. A person of interest, 48-year-old Jesus Salgado, is now in custody.
Tonight, our worst fears have been confirmed. We found the 4 people from the kidnapping, and they are, in fact, deceased. We are still working. We've got crime labs coming in from the Department of Justice, and we're going to be most of the night processing the scene. There's no words right now to describe the anger I feel and the senselessness of this incident.
This is a look at the person of interest, Jesus Salgado, who's in critical condition in the hospital. He has not been charged. Authorities say he tried to take his own life. Authorities have not determined a motive for the kidnapping and murder. Stay with News Channel 3 for any new developments on this breaking story we've been tracking all week on the air and online at KESQ.com.
I think things are starting to come into perspective just a little bit, aren't they? Hello, everybody. I think things are sort of coming into perspective just a little bit here on what happened to this family that was murdered in Merced, California, kidnapped and murdered. And there's been like a lot of fast-moving parts to it. But I think it's sort of starting to make sense a little bit. To wipe out an entire family requires a lot of hatred, a very strong hatred. But as you all know or are finding or learning, there has been a family of 4 that was kidnapped. Their kidnapping was caught on surveillance, and there is a suspect. He has went from someone they wanted to talk to being an absolute person of interest. And his name is Jesus Salgado. Jesus Salgado got out of prison back in 2015. Jesus Salgado has also kidnapped someone else and was charged with false imprisonment. Now, we heard what the news said there. It appears that Jesus Salgado is in the hospital in some form of critical condition. Apparently, he tried to kill himself. This was once authorities started closing in. But even more information is coming out in this story that is pretty shocking, pretty grisly. There are some grisly details that are making its way, including how possible causes of death of the 2 brothers, okay? And I will get to that. But before we even go further here, like, who is Jesus Salgado? Who is this person? Well, apparently he is a former employee of this family's business. He actually used to work for this family as a truck driver. He has also been in prison before for pretty heavy charges of kidnapping, false imprisonment.
Disturbing details regarding the past of the man suspected of kidnapping that family.
And this morning, the sheriff said during that press conference that 48-year-old Jesus Salgado had a criminal past, including a robbery from 2005 that led to an 8-year prison sentence. Investigative reporter Medeiros Babb joining us now live in studio. Medeiros, you actually talked to the man who says that he was the victim of that 2005 robbery. He says Salgado held him, his wife, and two 16-year-old girls at gunpoint.
That's right, Brian. And the victim did not want to be filmed on camera. He also did not want to be identified in any way. But he says that Salgado, quote, has no soul, and described the terrifying moments. The man says Salgado showed up to his home in a mask with a gun. Just a day after Merced Sheriff officials arrested 48-year-old Jesus Manuel Salgado, documents revealing his shocking criminal past. According to court papers, in 2007, Salgado pleaded no contest to first-degree robbery, attempted false imprisonment, and dissuading a witness, and was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Our station began investigating, went to the home that was the scene of the 2005 robbery, and managed to find the man who says he and his family were victimized. We spoke on the phone because he's still afraid in any way to be associated with what happened 17 years ago. The man, who owned a Central Valley trucking company, says Salgado worked for him for 2 years. After firing Salgado, the man says the suspect showed up to his home in a ski mask one December night. The man said over the phone, quote, "I went to shut the front door when he pulled out a gun and held it to the back of my head," end quote. The homeowner says Salgado duct taped the hands of himself, his wife, their 16-year-old daughter, along with his daughter's friend. According to the man, Salgado then reportedly, quote, "stole all the money we had, rings, that kind of stuff." The man says Salgado even took the ring off his wife's finger before he, quote, "made the girls jump into the pool, and he tried to push me into the pool. I was able to jump into the shallow end instead of the deep end," end quote. Once in the pool, the man says Salgado told them, quote, "if you call the police, I will kill you," end quote. The man says Salgado then walked out the front door. Now, the man that I spoke with says they did call police, and they say that Salgado was arrested that next morning. According to the California Department of Corrections, Salgado spent 8 years in prison and then served 3 years on probation.
Medeiros, I got to know, how is this gentleman feeling, that he and his family survived this nightmare, and that another family is going through this nightmare right now?
And that's something that I did ask him. Now, he's obviously reliving this moment, him and his family. He said that when he initially saw the photos and then heard the name, he realized that it was the same man, but he was just shocked to hear what happened, especially to another family just like his own.
And how's that first family doing after such a traumatic event? What's the impact been on them?
One of the things that he said, and I can relate to this because I'm such a father's daughter, he said, it wasn't about me, it was about my daughter. And from that moment on, it just affected that 16-year-old's life forever. She also had a friend there. And the man that I spoke with just said, it was so heartbreaking to be a father and have to watch your daughter go through something like that.
It is really, really chilling, and great work digging through all of this to be able to get that for us. Medeiros, thank you so much. And as the desperate search for the family continues, law enforcement...
Listen, you know what I'm thinking right now? Honestly, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Jesus Salgado has been to prison. He spent several years. I believe they said it was an 8-year sentence on robbery, including false imprisonment. You just heard the story of a former victims of his. I don't think he was going to leave any witnesses the second time. That would be, that's just the thing that comes to my mind. But I do have some additional details on this case. And I do want to give a shout out to the police brutality page. We are streaming over there for the first time ever. We have been gaining a lot of traction on that page. I don't know what's prompted the popularity of that page, but we're folding y'all on in, and there will be additional videos uploaded regarding police brutality. You all already know, if you have a case, tips@leaku.com. Now, this Jesus Salgado, age 48, who from my understanding currently is in critical condition in a hospital, has been moved from possible person of interest to pretty much an outright suspect at this point. He once drove a truck for this family's company. Now, the bodies of the 8-month-old child, I believe her name's Aroohi Dheri, her parents, Jasleen Kaur, who was 27 years old, that's the mother, then Jasdeep Singh, age 36. Then Singh's brother, Amandeep, who was 39. They were all found dead in an almond orchard in Merced County 2 days after they were all kidnapped at gunpoint from their business, which has been caught on surveillance, the entire thing. They were found dead. The sheriff's office did make an announcement when that happened. He said that these victims were found close to each other. They were found by a farm worker who had been tending to an almond orchard in a remote area near the town of Dos Palos, which is about 30 miles south of Merced. One source close to the investigation has told the news that the two brothers were killed with a machete. The source then said the mother, Mrs. Kaur, was then shot as she held her baby girl in her arms. The child was then left to die. Sheriff's officials say that they believed that the family was killed before their relatives even reported them missing Monday. Now, this surveillance video that everyone's talking about that shows the entire kidnapping of this family from their business, including the mother and child, is out there. And it shows a man walking up to the property before talking to one of the victims, one of the brothers. Then shows him leading these men who had their hands zip tied behind their backs into the back seat of Amandeep Singh's pickup truck. The suspect then went back to the trailer that served as a business office, and he subsequently led the mother, Jasleen, who was carrying her baby in her arms, out into this pickup truck before he then drove away. What's crazy, well, I'll say this. When Jasleen came out of the trailer, per the surveillance footage, she was holding her baby, right? This kidnapper and killer actually left with the two brothers and came back 6 minutes later in that pickup truck. So he was gone for 6.5 minutes in total. But listen, I'm going to actually put the raw surveillance footage up. This killer pauses. This killer literally pauses right as you're turning like up. It's like the 90-degree angle there as they, continue to go up the stairs or whatnot, and looks up at the surveillance camera. And you can see that he's covered his face with a mask. He's got the hood on. It was only until later on during the kidnapping that for some reason he pulled the hood off. And when he did, you could see the shape of his head, like all that. Give me just one sec, y'all. of fact, while you're waiting. Shout out to the Leak U community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
All right. So let me bring this surveillance up here, because this is the actual full-on surveillance video footage that was released by police. All 7 minutes. I think there is a clearer version of this surveillance footage, but I have not been able to find the entire 7 minutes of the clear footage. So, I mean, this is definitely clear enough to see what's going on. But you can see the brothers arriving to their business. This happened around 8:30 in the morning. Now, obviously, the family wants closure in this case, and authorities have said that Salgado, who again is a convicted robber, he tried to kill himself one day after the kidnappings, and that he is currently in critical condition ever since he's been taken into custody. So he's basically a prisoner in a hospital bed right now. Family members have said that nothing was stolen from the trucking company, but that their relatives were all wearing jewelry. After the kidnappings, an ATM card belonging to one of the victims was used in Atwater. And public records show the family owns the company named Unison Trucking. And family members said that they had recently opened an office in a parking lot that the Singh brothers also operated. Relatives of Jesus Salgado contacted authorities and told them he had admitted to them that he was involved with the kidnapping of this family. Jesus Salgado tried to take his own life before police arrived at the home near Atwater. And again, like I said, he's been hospitalized ever since. Now, his previous conviction involved first-degree robbery with the use of a firearm, as well as attempted false imprisonment and an attempt to prevent or dissuade a victim or witness, sentenced to 11 years in state prison. And this is the shot, the part where he pauses. He pauses as he's making his way up that ramp into that family's business. He pauses. And I don't think he was pausing to say to himself, oh, should I do this? I don't think it's that sort of pause. I think he was just looking to see if there were surveillance cameras. But as you can see, he's carrying a trash bag, which I'm sure authorities will be zooming into this bag. It is white. It is fairly translucent. You'll probably be able to see some of the items in that bag because the sun's shining on it just right. But the more clear surveillance footage would be needed to do that. But you can see he has a medical mask on. And he's got a hood covered. The question is, did the family know that this Jesus Salgado was the one is that why they felt so comfortable? Because you can see that the brother walked with him up. He's walking with him up, back in towards the business. It's like he went out to meet him. And they walk up together. His brother has no idea that this man is about to put him in zip ties and kidnap and murder him. Now he rushes up the ramp, and then, he still looks so suspicious. He pauses. And then he continues on. And then he drops the bag and he pulls a gun out of his left pocket. Well, first he pulls the gun, then he drops the bag. And he continues his way. Jesus Salgado had been sentenced to 11 years in state prison in his previous robbery case, first-degree robbery, use of a firearm. Released from prison in 2015. Now, another part of the surveillance video, this dog most definitely knew something wasn't right, and it kept barking, it kept alerting. Even in the beginning of the footage, someone was walking up behind this property, and it sort of looks like him, but you can't make it out 1000%. And then he leads these two men out of their business, zip tied, into the brother's truck. It's like he makes them stop and look first to see if anyone's there. Like he didn't even want them to go past the trailer until they checked to see if there was anyone out there, maybe that they didn't catch. I don't know. But you can see this is 9:12 in the morning, 9:12 and 14 seconds on October the 3rd. And this was obviously PST time, Pacific Standard Time. Salgado also has a conviction for possession of a controlled substance. So, I mean, the reason that people wonder when they hear that is like, was he on some sort of drugs when he did this? I don't think it would really matter at the end of the day. But I do think it is very interesting that he did try to kill himself after these kidnappings. Now, the truck left. It was gone for 6.5 minutes. Comes back. The suspect walks back into this business, proceeds to gather up the wife and the little child. The little child was 8 months old. And he has a gun in his hand, and he proceeds to guide the mother and child out of the business. She's carrying her baby. And again, from what we know, the two brothers were apparently murdered by machete. And this is not official. This is just, some information coming out from a source close to the investigation, that the brothers were murdered by machete and that the mother was shot while she held her baby and that the baby was actually left for dead. So I don't know what the cause of death for the baby was, but the baby's body was also found in this almond orchard. This case is really reverberating. I've noticed around social media, especially. Hey, shout out, y'all. I haven't even looked at the chat one time while I've been sitting here talking. Hey, Gloria. Hey, Chopper. How are you? I think, yeah, I agree with you that you could tell that dog knew something was up. Like I said, I believe a sheriff's deputy narrated this.
30 a.m. We can see,
but you could see
Jasdeep arrive in a brown minivan.
Somebody walking up the property line. It kind of looks like the suspect. It means he knew what time they arrived. Isn't it crazy how strangers will watch your every single movement, every movement that you make, whether it's online or even in your personal life? Like, he had to have known that they wouldn't get there till like 8:30, right?
Corner, you can see the pickup here. These cameras are motion sensitive and they go off every 30 seconds once they detect motion. So it's some of the video is choppy.
Thank God for it, though, right? Kind of makes you want to go put up some surveillance cameras at your place of business, doesn't it? Well, stop thinking about it and do it. Just do it already.
At 8:58, you see Jasdeep come out the back door.
Look, you see the person.
It's very important to note.
Look, you see him back there. And they're just at an angle where they can, where that person is standing. Like you can tell they're like walking on this side of the road, but you can also tell they're far enough away where they can assess what's going on around this trailer too.
There's someone walking down South Highway 59 South.
And it looks like they're carrying a bag on their back over their shoulder, doesn't it? I may even enhance this footage, but I'd like to do it on the more clearer copy.
And it's very important to note there's someone walking down South Highway 59
He's
South.
definitely carrying something over his
I'm
shoulder.
not sure if the dog alerted him, if there was some type of motion sensor or some type of app on his phone, the why he came out and looked.
That is interesting. Hold on. Let me, I want to check that again. Because he brought the dog with him to work also. So he obviously trusts the instinct of the dog, but he put the dog on a chain.
Dodge pickup. Once they detect motion, so that's some of the video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At 8:58,
This dog most definitely knew something. When you actually look at this even more, a little bit closer. Yeah. So this is like probably one of the very first frames of this little section of video right here. Hold on. And the dog is very clearly interested in what's going on over here. And what you'll notice, I'm going to slow it down. He was right up on the fence. Whoever this person's literally right up on the fence. And as soon as he opened this door, this person popped away and begins to walk away. And they sort of distance themselves.
8:58, you see Jasdeep come out the back door.
And Jasdeep knows something's up. And he looks at this person. I don't know if he realizes it or if he's just looking at the dog, but you can see that the guy has something over his shoulder. And he clearly has something, he's covered head to toe. He either has on a baklava, one of those masks, or he's got a hood on. You can see that much. But you can, I guess the camera wouldn't have started until he opened that door because of the motion sensitivity. But from where it did start, you can most definitely see the dog's very, very interested in what's going on over here. And this guy, as soon as he opens that door, he pops away from the fence. Probably because he was sitting there looking through the fence, assessing what's going on. Most definitely. And then it's almost like I said, you can see him with that white bag over his left shoulder. Looking weird as all ever. I know that the person that survived the robbery and the previous victim, I can't imagine.
59, this is the other side. You can see a subject walking.
I can't imagine what's going through their head.
59 at the business, and you'll see Jasdeep come out, and he appears to be on his phone, and we're not sure again if he's got a motion or what's alerting him to come outside.
And I'm looking at the clock, right? It's 9 a.m. up on the dot, right?
Makes contact contact with our suspect, and then you'll see them walking back over towards the building.
Did he know
He's got this trash
that
bag in his
was
hand.
Salgado?
As Jeep walks up to the building, pause it, get a photo of our suspect.
I just really think that's creepy. So creepy. And I can't help but to sit up here and wonder, okay, if these two brothers were literally macheted to death. Like, did he do this in front of the wife and the baby? That's a lot of hate. That's a lot of hate. And the other thing is, too, he didn't have to come back and get the woman and the baby. He had left in the brother's pickup truck. He was gone. Came back 6.5 minutes later and collected her and her baby. What made her stay there after he left? There's no surveillance footage that was inside of the trailer, so we may never know. But listen, I know that they found the phones of the victims out near where their bodies were found. Technicians need to check the latest videos that were recorded on those phones. They also need to check the voice memos, how you can record audio, because you never know. For these phones to have found their way out in a farm road area near where their bodies were found, we don't know how long they had their phones on them, and they could have recorded something that could have captured something, a photo. So definitely look at their camera rolls, the most recent photos, and check the audio memos as well. You never know, because the brother sure was on that phone a lot. And I'm telling you, all it takes is one little move of the hand and you can bring up another, you start recording. Press your power button twice. Camera automatically will start recording type stuff. We don't know. We don't know if they managed to get in the car with the phones and maybe even recorded from there. So I just hope that authorities will look at that. I'm sure authorities, though, are on top of this case. My understanding, they've been working a hell of a crime scene out there in Merced County. Hell of a crime scene. I'm going to take the Crime and Investigations channel out on this. I will holler at y'all.